Yes, definitely. We have so many great projects. Please join us. Today is July 17th, and our guest teacher is Deolal. And we are grateful to have him. And we're gonna start to share the screen. All right, today is our Zoom Shiatsu virtual gathering number 26. And we started last year, April 11th, 2020. So we've been doing this every Saturdays. Now it's over 75 gatherings. And we are so grateful to have all of you today and all of you out there in the world. Watch us through YouTube or Facebook. Let's enhance our energy and let's overcome our daily challenges. So today's sharing is Yogarishi Deolal Mahabi. He's gonna talk about secret of 5 health. Yes, we are so excited. His one of specialties of meditation. Therapeutic applications of meditation. He's been practicing meditation when he was a little boy, and he's gonna share his secret of health. And let's chant, put the both hands together and meditate before listen to his wonderful talk and share. Namu Shinyo Ichi Nyoto To Toki Miho Toke O Nenri Tate Matsuru Zangi Zange Rokkon Zaisho Metsujo Bon no Metsujo Gunsho Om Sarabha Tathagata Hanamana no Karomi. Let's focus our energy, send healing energy to everybody in the world. So many people suffering due to coronavirus, natural disaster. We just had a huge storm came and huge fire is happening in California and everybody's lives are very scattered. Let's send healing energy to everybody go through these challenges. And let's reflect ourselves, think about yin-yang energy. Are we balanced? Or do we have too much yin energy? Do we have too much yang energy? Let's reflect ourselves, cultivate our hara, cultivate our center, and do good to others. So today's share is Yogarishi Deolal Mahabi. Right now he's in Florida, but he travels to see his clients all over the United States. And he's been practicing yoga, shiatsu, meditation to understand health, balance, and life. And he has a great share of information. So Deolal, please tell us secret of your life.
Well, thank you. I don't know if it's a secret, but to some it might be. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So to begin, I bring all my thoughts and ideas and knowledge under one umbrella, yoga. And one of the, actually the original meaning for yoga, it's from the Sanskrit language. It is to unite, yoke, to join. Join what? All the classic texts say join the individual self, the soul, with the universal. And that is the big original thought behind yoga. These days, it is more a commercial thing. And the secret, as you just put it, is no longer a secret. Actually, it is a secret, it's hidden. So, everywhere you go, in every country, in every culture, yoga is there. It may be using different names. For example, the word dhyana, spelled D-H-Y-A-N-A, means, is cognate to the English word meditation. The same word in the Tibetan language is jhana, J-H-A-N-A. And then as that philosophy changed and moved over towards China, it became Chan, C-H-A-N. Then it became San in the Korean language, S-A-N. And when you hop over the ocean and go to Japan, it became Zen. So you see, different places, the same philosophy, the same basic idea globally with different names. So yoga is yoga. By any other name, it's still yoga. So the main idea of yoga is meditation, basically. And then there is this great teacher who culled all of the existing systems of yoga and brought it under one curriculum. This was done about 2,500 years ago. And at that time, there was several teachers spread over different countries and continents. This particular teacher, his name is Patanjali. And no one really knows historically where he's come from. So Patanjali, the person who created the Jain tradition, Mahabir Swami, over on the other side of the hill was a guy named Buddha, and there was Lao Tzu and Zarathustra. All of these people taught basically the same thing. Now we have legends and we have some historical facts. And if you know science, science likes to think of itself as having precision. It likes to make sure that something is duplicatable. And so the legends of old are now being put under scientific observation here in the United States, as well as in other countries. So once it's withstood the Western or the modern idea of science, then we accept it. And so I would say about in the last half of the last century, the scientific community observed that the health practices amongst the yogis, whether they are historical or legend or factual, has been continuous and unbroken for over 8,000 years. And when science sees something that is continuous and unbroken, and still to this day has merit, then we should study this. There's something here, because we are struggling here with health in this country, how to promote health through medicines and all these different things. And it keeps changing. Every few years, research has shown this, research has shown something else. But these people with their continuous health regimen, there must be something. So there are three forms, three kinds of maladies. Now, before I say that, yoga is claimed to be a panacea, means it's a cure for everything. The only problem is if you can't do it, then it's of no use. I'll come back to this again. So now we have the three sources of maladies, and I'll skip the Sanskrit words. The first one, though, is self-created. It is problems that we create for ourselves. The second one is environmentally created. And the third one is created by supernatural forces. So again, the first one, on our soul level, on our self level, the word Atma means our soul. And when there is a disruption or discord in the spirit, it comes down to the level of the intellect or thinking. Then any kind of disturbance at that level then becomes the mind level, mind meaning also emotion and mental thinking. Then it affects the energy system, which in Sanskrit is called prana. Then you also know it as chi, and you also know it as ki. When the energy system becomes corrupted, poisoned, misaligned, that then eventually crystallizes on the physical body, and then we get sick or ill, disturbed. So because of poor habits on the physical level, or the self level, our own self, from spiritual coming down to the physical, we have created problems. I call it self-created drama. And you look for somebody to rescue you. Here, the rescuers are the medical community. We have given them permission to take care of our health when we should be taking care of our health ourselves. I have not visited a physician for the last 54 years. I wouldn't know what to do if I went to a physician. So that was a long time ago. The second level that causes stress is what's happening in the environment. Some people might be living in a flood zone. Some people living in a place where there is wildfires. Some people living under stressful areas where there's drive-by shooting. And all of these, or anything environmental, I hear some people complain about living in areas where the airplanes are flying over and dropping chemicals on their house. They call it chemtrails. So many forms of illnesses that can be caused by environmental factors. Now, we have very little that we can do to leverage or change when it comes to environmental factors. Of course, for ourselves, we have a choice. For the environmental factors, we have less choices. And then the third level, the supernatural, we have very little that we can do when the factors that are affecting us are from supernatural forces. Now, what is supernatural? You have earthquakes, you have hurricanes, you have other planetary influences. So astrology is one of those things that we can use to find out what is affecting us from a supernatural source. And for those people who don't accept or understand astrology, if you take for a moment, the sun does not shine for 3 days, you will see people's moods start changing and becoming more depressed. Light deprivation, depression. And you know how the moon cycles affects the waters of the planets and how it affects people's minds. Every time there's a full moon, people start pointing it out. It must be a full moon. If we just take these two luminaries alone and see how it affects us, that's just two. And you have 9 different entities counted by one system, the Vedic system, and the Western system uses 12. I mentioned astrology because that's something I myself have been studying for a number of years. In the Chinese system, you have the I Ching. I don't know anything about that. And in the Japanese system, I've heard of the 5-star, is it 5-star or 9-star? 9-star key?
Yes, 9-star.
Yes. So all traditions have some method of divination to see what supernatural forces are affecting us and how we can mitigate them or change them or eradicate them. So you have I put it this way. I wrote about 35, 40 years ago. It was supposed to be a book, but many of my books, all of my books, none of my books ever make it to the press. I call it the 5 components of health. And after having written the material, someone else, I noticed I got a book and it was written by Dr. Rudolf Steiner. And he happened to write the same 5 components of health 50 years before me. So maybe I'm onto something, or he stole my materials 50 years before me. The 5 components of health is 1, touch. And this I learned from Sensei Ohashi. He called it touch communication. Then there is diet and nutrition, which becomes a career move when you start thinking about how to eat. Then you have exercise. Then rest and relaxation. And then the 5th one is meditation. Now, I can't say which one is first because primarily I'm a meditator and I think that is first, but then if you are not able to do it, it doesn't become first. Touch. Let's go back to touch. Non-sexual loving touch. The purpose of it, one of the main purpose of it, from what I have experienced as a practitioner, is that everybody, in fact, all living entities, seek validation of their existence, seeks validation of its existence. The moment someone begins to feel invalidated, all the internal system begin to cascade and the person gets sick and perhaps will die. So if you can make someone feel that they belong or that they have existence and their existence counts, that person starts to heal immediately. So touch is a very important part. And I began studying Shiatsu, well, a long time ago. I was about 12 or 13 years. And this gentleman, his name is, should I call his name? Rex LaSalle. He teaches the Namikoshi style of Shiatsu. He was a soldier, and he and 2 other soldiers tried to overthrow the government of that country, and they failed. And he left and went to Europe, where he studied the Namikoshi style of Shiatsu. And coming back home, he taught it. I learned it from him. And the soldier mentality that he had came through in his treatments as well. I found it to be quite abrasive, but it was the only Shiatsu I know. So I used it anyway. Then when I was living in Buffalo, New York, actually at the Himalayan Institute, another yoga teacher came to do a weekend lecture and introduced me to something called Oha Shiatsu. And I wanted to learn because after that experience, it is not so abrasive. No poke, 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 poke. So I studied Shiatsu 1 with David Coulter, and then he invited me, he said, you should go to New York and study with Ohashi at the Ohashi Institute. Okay. So I graduated from the Ohashi Institute. And then during that time, I got to knowing some other modalities such as myofascial release. And there I learned about craniosacral therapy. So I went to the Upledger Institute and finished that program as well. I find that they combine very well because in craniosacral therapy, you are required to provide light touch, 5 grams of pressure. And that went on until I went into advanced craniosacral therapy. And the idea in advanced craniosacral therapy is, now the truth comes out. You meet the individual's resistance, and then you add 5 grams of pressure. Oh, that's amazing, because we can do that from the hara in doing shiatsu. You meet the resistance of the person, and then you add 5 grams of pressure. So craniosacral therapy and shiatsu, perfect blend. So that's what I've been doing for the last, over 25 years, these two. And I notice also that it is better to do 3 sessions of shiatsu before going on to craniosacral therapy. It works better that way, at least for me. So these are forms of touch therapy, touch communication. The second one, the idea of exercise. Any exercise program should take the whole body into consideration. It shouldn't be like when you go to a gym and you work out your arms one day and you work out the legs the next day, and the third day you do abs, and it's too fragmented. Then there's also anaerobics exercises where you stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, like in tennis or things like that. The exercise programs that I like is yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, anything that the whole body works together with, even jogging, if you can cultivate the breath with jogging, it becomes okay. So brisk walking is even better. I also like belly dancing. I think it's a complete exercise, but I don't do it. Diet and nutrition. It is better to consult diet or a professional who knows diet, who can use the 5 great elements and see that there is a balance of the 5 great elements in your dietary regimen. So you have Ayurveda and you have macrobiotics, as far as I know, and the Chinese system also uses the 5 elements. Now, when I was at school in New York, one of the teachers says Ayurveda and Chinese medicine is very different. The 5 elements that is exposed to Ayurveda and the 5 elements that is exposed to Chinese medicine is different. I found them to be exactly the same. That earth, water, fire, air, and space, earth, water, fire, wood, and metal they're the same. There's no difference between them. It's a matter of understanding the nature of it. So finding someone who includes the 5 elements and having your diet balanced by such a person would be of great benefit. So that's touch and exercise and diet. Rest and relaxation. Now, this is something that is not really understood. I would say scarcely understood what rest and relaxation means. If you ever come across the science behind the brain waves, beta brain waves, alpha brain waves, theta, delta, gamma, these brain waves, the body undergoes rest, relaxation, repair, rejuvenation, particularly when you are experiencing delta brainwaves. Delta brainwaves exhibits when the individual is in deep sleep. If you're waking, you are using all of the senses of perception, and that is what causes all the stress, how we take things in. So there's 2 branches of the senses of cognition, the senses of conation, that is action. They are available in the beta and also in the alpha brainwave states. So you can get exhausted from your dreams as well. You might have had dreams where you were running from an assailant, and during that time, you wake up really exhausted. Now, if you get into the deep sleep state, then you have rest and relaxation. Then you have restoration. Then you have all the energies of the meridians aligned properly so that you experience rejuvenation. So as a practitioner, I've noticed that when you balance the meridians through touch, in this case, Shiatsu, I practiced and I studied acupuncture for only a short while, and I have needle phobia, so I decided I'm not going to do acupuncture. So we still can balance all of the meridians through Shiatsu. My observation is that if I had time to do 2 meridians, it would be the bladder meridian and the stomach meridian. If I had time to do only 1 meridian, it would be the bladder meridian. Why? Because you can access the entire nervous system. That is the parasympathetic and the sympathetic branches of the nervous system. And by balancing that, the person enters into that delta brainwave activity. Even while they're fully awake, the body is experiencing delta, which is the same thing that you want to get when you do meditation. You want to get into the delta brainwave activity. Now, another observation of mine is that when you get a bodywork treatment and you get a Shiatsu session, it lasts for about 96 hours. And after that, the treatment collapses, it tapers off. And it would be nice if the person, if they are chronic, would get a treatment every day. But sometimes that's not possible, you can't pay. So what I've done is I give them a meditation practice using breathing. We'll talk about it in a short while. If you do the breathing practice every day at the same time, on the fourth day, the fifth day, the meditation practice kicks in. So when the effect of the shiatsu starts tapering off, by the fourth day, the meditation starts kicking in on the fifth day. So the person has something that they can do for themselves when they are not able to come see you every day. So this I've done for the last 20, 25 years, and people have had great benefits from it. So that would be the fifth thing, fifth component of health. So we have touch, exercise, diet and nutrition, rest and relaxation, and meditation. One more note, a point about rest and relaxation. There are certain exercises that you do that now in modern times people call relaxation, yoga relaxation. And nowhere in the classic texts of yoga will you ever find the word relaxation. It is not there. In fact, one word that we know from Shiatsu, which provides that, is called tonus. So tonus brings the same idea of deep relaxation that takes you into the delta brainwave state and the body repairs. So these are the 5 components of health that Komiko-san wanted me to reveal to you. You can form so many different modalities that fit into these 5. Now, the word monitor. How many people know the word monitor? M-O-N-I-T-O-R, monitor. Everybody seems to know monitor, right? What does it mean? Well, I'll give you the meaning according to this context. Monitor means don't interfere. So you want to monitor what the breath is doing. There's no intention of changing anything. So however your body is breathing, you let that continue. And you simply pay attention. So any health regimen that you want to develop starts with breathing. And these days you have so many self-appointed experts who teach you all the wrong things about breathing. So it is imperative that you learn how to breathe properly. A couple of days ago, I listened to one of the recordings from this program by some guy named Ivan. And he mentions just about everything that I was hoping to say. So I had to change what I wanted to say because of him, because of listening to him. 3 forms of matter we encounter: solids, liquids, gases. We take those 3 in and we release those 3 back out. There's a ratio that should be met, otherwise we will suffer ill health. The ratio of solids to liquids to gases. 6% of our intake, 6% should be solids, 14% liquids, and 80%, 80% air. Look at it another way. You can go as much as 63 days without eating and still live, providing you are drinking fluids. You can go as much as 4, I wouldn't push it past that, to 5 days. Around the 5th day, if you don't drink any liquids, you will die. 63 days, 4 days. How long can you go without air? 3 minutes max. If you have trained your body, well, that's a different thing. So the order of importance, if you notice, is air, then water, liquids, then solids. So I met once one girl who said, I eat all the time. And if you would see the size of the individual, you would concur that she eats all the time. Not much room for breathing. She can't breathe because the respiratory diaphragm is pushed up so high in the chest that there is no movement in the chest for air, and she's not very healthy. So it is imperative that the ratio of air to liquids to solids stay close to the percentages. And someone might ask, why 80% air? Well, you ask yourself the question, you have to breathe all day long and all night long to live? That's 80%. Now, presently, I eat once a day. Most of the day, other than solid food, is liquids. And then I have capacity to breathe. My one breath now takes 59 seconds to complete. With the breath being so slow, the mind becomes sharp. So the exercise to monitor the breath, five exhalations and inhalations. So you exhale, inhale. Exhale, inhale constitutes one breath. Exhale, inhale again, it's a second breath. So 5 exhalations and inhalations, if you complete, that resets the respiratory center in the brain. When you reset the respiratory center in the brain, all of the body systems, cardiac system, circulatory system, digestive system, skeletal system, all 9 or 10, some people count it as 11, they become one single event, which means then that when you breathe in air, what flows on the air when you breathe in? Air in itself has only some components of oxygen, I think 21%, 78 or 79% of nitrogen, and then some trace gases. That's all it has. But there's another component that travels on the breath. That component is called prana. I use the word prana first because prana is a compound of two words. Pra, P-R-A, pra, means that which was there before, pre-existent. And ana means matter. The first unit of matter is ana. So that which was there before the first unit of matter is prana. Cognate meaning is the life force. So the life force flows along the breath, and that is your 80% intake. The same word you can find in the Chinese tradition, qi, and in the Japanese tradition, it's ki. So along the breath, so the breath is like an Uber service in which, along which the ki is flowing. So when you breathe slowly, controlled, you are pervading the entire body. And I say entire body because remember, once the respiratory center in the brain is reset, all of the body systems become one single event. So the life force, this ki, is going to flow into every part of the body. The same that you got when we did the Shiatsu alignment with the meridians. The person, when you give a treatment, they feel bubbly, effervescent, they feel connected, they feel whole. Well, correct breathing gives you the same wholesomeness, if that's a word. Remember back when I talked about the 5 components of health, I educate the person who I'm treating. I said, I can provide for you touch, but sorry, I cannot eat for you. I cannot exercise for you. I cannot rest for you, and I cannot meditate for you. So 80% is in your practice. You have to put in that. So coming back, first technique, exhale, inhale. I'd like you to do at this time, simply monitor what your breath is doing. Do not change it. And we're going to do 5 exhalations and inhalations. And when we complete that, I'll talk a little bit more. So let's go ahead. What I'll do, I'll monitor my 5 exhalations and inhalations. And I'm pretty sure by the time I'm done, you would have been done a long time ago with 5 exhalation inhalations. And you want to take some notes in your mind, what changed in your body, what changed in your psyche, in your entire persona. So let's begin now. Okay, so that's about 5. I think you would have been finished with 5. So I have to make a confession. This is the first time I'm using Zoom or first time on online. So I want some feedback from people, what you notice. What do I have to do?
Well, anybody, could you unmute yourself and share your experience? Eva, how was it?
Oh, I realized that I really don't know how to breathe. I breathe in my lungs, in my chest, too high.
Okay, anybody
And,
else?
and I also realized that after the food that I ate today, I have difficulties to go down and breathe from the stomach. So I know it was a bad food for me.
Oh, okay, okay. Did you feel sleepy?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
How about Sylvia? You want to say something, Sylvia? Silvana?
Who's that? Oh, there are other people?
Hi,
Yes, yes.
hi,
Hi.
hi, thank you, thank you. I
Oh,
feel
wow.
similar things. I feel my stomach very much because I
Wow.
had some coffee, Italian coffee, and before we connect, and I feel it very well also. My articulation side in this period, they feel very well. So with this slowly inspiration and expiration, I feel this very well, very present.
Good.
Thank you.
How about Katie?
I'm sorry. Okay. One thing I must assert is that you never breathe out through your mouth. Many exercise programs, you see people go into the nose, and that is wrong, scientifically wrong, anatomically wrong, in so many ways wrong. So if you ever go to a yoga class or a qigong class, tai chi class, and the instructor tells you breathe into the nose and breathe out to the mouth, find another teacher. That is wrong. If we have time, I'll tell you why it's wrong, but keep that as a note. Now, after the 5 exhalations and inhalations is completed, you will follow up with another 11 exhalations and inhalations. First, the first 5 is a practice in itself. The second half you do after you finish the first part, which means in order to do the second, you have to be doing the first. You can do the first and leave it alone, walk away. But if you're going to do the second, you still have to do the first because you want to reset the respiratory center in the brain, then do the second part. I'll describe the second part. Exhale and inhale. One moment. "11 exhalations and inhalations." I don't know. I'm going very slow. 5 exhalation, inhalation, then follow up with 11. So let's do that now. We do the 5, and then we do 11. When you finish 11, please continue breathing. That's a joke. Okay. Feedback. What was your experience?
What about down? Yes.
Thank you, Yogi. I don't know if I was breathing properly, but I feel like I've had a whole afternoon's nap. I feel like I've really, the adrenal thing is really reset slowly, just from those few breaths. Thank you.
Yes.
And joyful. I feel very joyful.
So, anybody else? Yeah. When the body is, go
In
ahead.
second round, I felt after 5 breaths that my body is relaxing, my muscles are relaxing the whole body, and I was able to control and breathe slower.
Mhm. Okay, good, good. All correct. So, because I'll give you another formula. B equals 1 over A, where B is representing the breath and A is representing anxiety. Now, there are some smart mathematicians who will change the formula to saying A equals 1 over B. That is not correct, because since A is anxiety, you are going after anxiety to reduce anxiety with anxiety. How does that work? It just doesn't. So B, the breath. So let's say the anxiety is 1, level 1. So 1 divided by 1 is 1. So the breath is still full. If your anxiety level cranks up to 2, 1 over 2 means breath has been cut into half. You get the formula? If your breath, if the anxiety level goes up to 4, then breath gets cut into 1/4, and so on. If the anxiety level goes exponentially, then you die because you have no breath. So breath equals 1 over anxiety. In the current state, many people, when they have, we all have some kinds of anxiety patterns. And as the breath starts becoming and starts taking over the internal environment, the anxiety pattern starts dropping off, and you will tend to feel, I want to sleep, or I feel connected, because suddenly you're dropping off anxiety. The second phase of the exercise, excuse me, see, I'm not used to having everybody quiet, so I'm thinking, and this is my first presentation ever, so I'm a little bit disconcerted myself, but I'll continue.
That is perfectly normal. That is always at the beginning. Zoom feels strange.
Oh, okay. Because most of my classes are live, so I get feedback immediately. The first part of the exercise resets the respiratory center in the brain along the medulla oblongata. The second part of the exercise, once the first part is done and you've reset, the second part, after the 11th breath is completed, see, the volume of blood that leaves the heart and visits all over, remember it was one single event. All of the 11 systems is one now because it's reset. So the blood will go everywhere without impedance. So you get oxygen-rich hemoglobin plus other nutrients going to all parts of the body simultaneously, and then removing toxins from the body and bringing it back out to be tossed out. So the volume of air, breath, in breath number 1 visits all parts of the body and comes back to the heart, breath number 12. Volume of blood number 2 comes back to the heart, breath number 13. Volume number 3 comes back in breath number 14, and so on. So what has happened here is that there's a change in blood chemistry. The blood has become more alkaline when you do this breathing exercise this way. So this 5 and 11, you know, in a westernized way, when I taught it to one physician, she had Lyme's disease and she came to see me. We fixed that. And I taught her this exercise. And then she went back and she taught it to all her patients, calling it 5 and 11 breath. Okay. I conceded 5 and 11 breath. This is the first exercise I give to people as a meditation when they receive treatment You go back and you are required to do this exercise every day. At the same time, you orchestrate your day's activity such that when that time comes, you do the exercise. You make an appointment with yourself. Nothing says that you can't do it additional times during the day, but that one time that you've made the appointment with yourself is fixed. You're going to do it. What's going to happen, as I said before, on the 5th day, this will kick in. But it doesn't stop there. Each 5th day, there's another transformation that takes place within the system. So then here's a question. If doing this exercise alone brings you closer to homeostasis, closer to the delta brainwave state, why go to a Shiatsu practitioner at all? Or any kind of body work? Well, the answer to that is what we do in a session, treating someone, correcting the meridians, bringing balance. What we do in 1 hour or so, one treatment, that person could do that themselves, but it would take about 6 months to do, providing that they took a sabbatical from life and all the bills are being taken care of and the food is being prepared and you have nothing else to do but heal. What you could do in 6 months, you get in one session of treatment. So that means they have to come back to you anyway and continue to do the breathing exercise if they want to progress faster and further. So 5 and 11, the first level of meditation that I teach. And if you behave and you are consistent with the practice, then I add other elements to the practice. And also, as long as you start to heal, you will dredge up from your unconscious mind, subconscious mind, impediments that in the first place cause illness. And when they come up, then we learn how to work with deeper levels of meditation to treat those impediments. And there are 9 of them. So that happens subsequent times. Now, you might say, well, when do I start the count? The instruction is on a convenient exhalation, you begin the count, which means you might be in a little bit in a hurry. So you take 1 breath, 2 breath, resting breath, and maybe on the 3rd breath or the 4th breath or the 5th breath, you're going to start that's 1, 2. So on a convenient exhalation is when you start your first count. And if you have any questions right now before I say some more.
So when you do 5 breaths, when you start practicing that every day, does that mean that you have to first calm yourself and then find the right breath and then start counting?
That would be a good thing to do.
Okay. And then you do 5 and then 11.
Yes.
Okay.
And as I said, 5 is a complete practice in itself. The 11 is an additional practice such that it changes the blood chemistry. Then it becomes a combined practice. Okay. Any other question?
Is it, it's me again, Eva. Is it any suggestions about the time? Is it better to have the appointment with yourself in the morning or at night?
Okay, so on the second visit, after the person has experimented with getting the mind and the breath to connect, recognizing how much the mind depends on the breath, then the second session or the second week, I tell them, now find a convenient time in the week during the day when you're going to make that appointment. So that's the second time I will tell them, okay, now that you know the connection between body and breath, now you make an appointment with yourself. Come what may, whatever it is, at that time I'm going to be sitting, doing or standing or whatever, doing my practice. By the way, meditation should never be done lying down, always sitting. There's a reason for it. So the second week is when I tell people to make time for yourself. And then the third week is when I tell them where to sit, because there's always one place in your house, in your home, that you feel comfortable being there. So you find that place energetically, and when you find it, that's your place for doing your practice. That's third session. So little by little I add for people, because if I give them all the information one day, they walk away thinking I know it all and they will never do the practice. So I make them accountable for doing the practice, and then when they get it, I add more. So over the course of 6 months, they become a good meditator.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Sure, please.
I find myself meditating with my eyes open. Is that okay?
There is a practice to do with the eyes open. And in fact, when you do Zen meditation, you're required to keep the eyes open.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way
Huh?
that is something that I do all the time. And
Yes.
yeah.
At some point, you will feel the urge to cut off the information, the visual information, and that will come at some point.
Yes, it comes, but after a while, I have to put myself first in the deeper state with eyes open, and it sometimes takes a while, like 20 minutes or 30 minutes, and then close my eyes.
Okay. Any other thought? So this comes under therapeutic applications of meditation. There's much more, but in 90 minutes or less, I don't want to open up another topic yet. So tell me what you need. Anybody?
So your advice is about breathing, and is that the advice of today's lecture, so that we can practice?
Now, remember I asked you to make a note?
Yes.
What was the note?
A lot.
It was never breathe out through the mouth. Anybody knows why? No one? Yes. Oh, you're just scratching your head. The reason is the temperature of the air in your lungs has to be at a certain temperature. Let's say it's supposed to be 98 degrees. And if the air becomes cold on the outside and it doesn't adjust through breathing for the lungs, you will damage your lungs. If the air outside is too hot as compared to what's in your lungs, you will damage your lungs. So there are very special mechanisms in the nose, right about here. They're called nasal turbinates. And those turbinates, they're like thermistors, so that when you breathe out across the turbinates, the brain gets to know what the temperature of the air is in the lungs. If you breathe out through the mouth, you cut off that information. Okay. The blood that's flowing through the body has to also be at a particular level, temperature-wise. Now, let's go back a little bit. If the air is too cold, you will change the breathing. Either you will speed up the breathing or slow it down in this case, you will breathe faster to change the temperature of the lungs. If the air outside is too hot, you will slow down the breathing. The body will naturally slow down to cool the air in the chest. So that's the mechanism that you depend on the nasal turbinates. The blood. When the blood flows to different parts of the body, it exchanges, when it comes back to the heart, it exchanges for new oxygen, new air, and the carbon dioxide is released. And that air that is being released back across the nose, so the brain gets to know what the temperature of the blood is. And the vascular system has two flow. You have the flow of the blood, and you have the flow of the lymphatic system. And you need heat to move the lymph from one node to the next node. Again, if you cut off that information right here at the nose, you don't get the vascular system to function properly. So this is why it is imperative that you breathe in through the nose, out through the nose. Now, I'm not a swimmer, so I don't know how to explain breathing into the nose and out through the nose while swimming. But certainly on the surface, I knew this is important. That's why I said, if your teacher, your Tai Chi teacher, or yoga teacher, or whatever tells you breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, find another teacher. And if they want to argue, tell them, come argue with me. Okay? We stop here?
Wonderful. Any questions?
Yes.
Everybody's okay?
I have a question.
Yes.
Will you come back for a next lecture?
Sure,
Yes.
sure. Yeah. This is my first, and I'm a little bit uncomfortable, but we'll do it again. Sure.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Wonderful lecture, Deolal. Thank you. Oh, here's information about Deolal. Let me share with you. Yeah. So you can reach him by phone, email, LinkedIn, and the website.
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
I also put informations in the chat, the website, and I'll put now Facebook address.
Okay.
Well, I hope it was good for my first time.
Oh, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. Wonderful information, deep knowledge, and it's very effective.
And,
Use
and,
every
the,
life.
and the butterflies are still there a little bit.
Yes.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you so much.
We
So I-
have feedback from Mark in the chat, and Mark says, fascinating explanation of moving air between lungs and nose and the tissues that come about through mouth exhalation. Thank you so much. That was an honor, Mr. Deolal.
Mark Dodd,
Yes.
is he related to Karen Dodd?
No.
No. Oh, okay.
Mark
No.
studied at the Ohashi Institute. Deborah.
Ah,
Yeah, no, I think she's Karen Dodds, am I right? With an S?
oh,
Yeah,
I
Yes,
remember.
yes.
yeah. I have heard her and come across of her, but I don't think we have any relationship.
Ah, okay.
Oh.
That was a long, long time ago. I remember her from 1995.
Yeah.
She still is practicing, am I right, Kamiko? She's still around and practicing, so.
Yes. Yes. She practices at New York.
And she gave a lecture on one of the first gatherings.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Climate.
So how did everybody here do during 2020 shutdown? No one got sick, right?
We
You
have
know, the corona did not affect you.
No.
We've been meeting every week. We are learning our self-care techniques. We are supporting each other and eat better, sleep better.
Uh-huh.
So I think we've been okay. Yes.
Yeah. Sleep. Some other time we'll talk about sleep.
Oh, yes, please.
It's a very good topic. America suffers from a sleep deprivation.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, 2020 was a very good year for me. I got to sit lots of practice.
Yes, for us too. We
Yes.
are able to connect and meet so many people and
Uh-huh.
expanding our energies and reaching out more people. And we are very grateful these opportunities.
Well, it's nice seeing you after 25 years.
Yes. So good to see you. Yes.
I think
Hi.
it's more.
Welcome.
Mhm. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Please come back again.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And have a wonderful summer.
Yes, I plan to.
But you're in Florida, you have summer all year round, right?
We have a little bit of winter
Uh,
because I'm in the north of Florida.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful music, Indian music. Maybe you can explain us better.
Sometime.
Here, I want to show. I wonder. Shiva Shamba.
Oh,
What is
okay.
the meaning?
Well, Shiva is the aspect of the one universal that is the regenerator.
Mm.
So everything has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So the end is really the beginning of another. So you have beginning, middle, and this end takes it back to another existence. So Shiva of the Trinity is the one that takes it to another beginning.
Mm.
And at that point, it's called something else. So when Shiva is transforming something to the next state, it is then called Brahma, the creator.
Mm.
When it's in tonus and it stays, then that is Vishnu. But there's no three, there's only one. It has different functions, and at different functions, it is called differently. That's the only thing that is unique about Shiva. Shambhu is a well-wisher. I wish you well.
Mm.
There's much more deeper scientific meaning, but we don't have time to get into that.
All right. So next time.
Some other time, yeah.
All right. So I don't know if I can share. But please watch it. It was in the YouTube.
Okay. Yeah. They're all in YouTube. Everything is in YouTube. Yeah.
All right. So everybody, thank you for joining today and have a great weekend. And we take a break and see you July 31st. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. Stay safe and healthy.
Thanks.
Thank you.